God-level duplication system. Chapter 121. Guidance. At this moment, Tian Guangling's face was filled with joy and his heart was filled with gratitude towards Lin Xuan. He had completely forgotten that Lin Xuan had just played a trick and extorted all of his savings. This was the nature of humans. Lin Xuan saw this and smiled without saying anything. This just happened to avoid some unnecessary trouble. After that, Lin Xuan turned around and looked around the entire scene. He said in a clear voice, "I didn't challenge Tian Guangling before. I only exchanged some martial arts with him. This is normal." He seemed to be talking to himself, but his voice was not small. The sound waves rolled in all directions. Everyone on the scene had strange expressions on their faces when they heard this. They understood Lin Xuan's intention. However, all of them voiced their agreement. "That's right. This is very normal. I only saw senior brother Lin and Tian Guangling exchanging martial arts. It was Tian Guangling who requested it. I have never seen a challenge before." Under Lin Xuan's gaze, everyone on the scene responded. Lin Xuan also slightly nodded his head, a trace of a smile flashed across his eyes. This was obviously a lie. However, under his threat, everyone still did the same. Lin Xuan was also quite satisfied. Sure enough, strength is the most important thing in the world. If one didn't have enough strength, there wouldn't be such a scene. Lin Xuan sighed with emotion. He immediately turned around and continued to walk forward. All the disciples on the scene were terrified when they saw this. It was obvious that Lin Xuan wanted to continue blackmailing them. All the disciples quickly followed. At the same time, they prayed in their hearts that Lin Xuan would not stop outside their penthouse. At this moment, Lin Xuan was just a new disciple, but he had made most of the elite disciples feel uneasy and scared. If the other disciples of the inner sect saw this, they would probably be scared silly, wouldn't they? But at this moment, none of the disciples on the scene dared to think too much. They could only silently follow behind Lin Xuan. Because Lin Xuan was too strong, none of them was a match for him. Also, what Lin Xuan did was within the rules, they had no right to stop him. Very quickly, Lin Xuan passed by each building and stopped outside the 18th building. However, Lin Xuan had yet to speak. The owner of the 18th building, Zhang Xin, walked out from the crowd and said, "Senior brother Lin, these are 120,000 contribution points and 8,000 spirit stones. These are the rewards for the senior brother's guidance in the junior brother's martial arts. Senior brother, please show mercy." As he spoke, he took out his identity token and a storage ring and handed them to Lin Xuan. Lin Xuan's expression also froze. He immediately reacted and smiled. He didn't expect that they would be so self-aware before he took any action. This was a good thing. Not bad. Lin Xuan nodded. He put away the storage ring and transferred the 120,000 contribution points into his identity token. He continued, "Since that's the case, I'll teach you this once. Show me the martial arts you're good at." Lin Xuan's words stunned everyone on the scene. Lin Xuan really wanted to teach them. Was this true? Everyone couldn't help but show a doubtful expression. Lin Xuan had only been at a beginner level for a short period of time. The reason he could have such powerful strength was because of his amazing talent. In terms of martial arts comprehension, he couldn't possibly be compared to them, could he? However, after Zhang Xin heard this, he was stunned for a moment, but still did as he was told. He had given Lin Xuan so much money, so he had to make some use of it. Zhang Xin used the sword technique that he was best at. Of course, this was not a battle. That was why he didn't use his full strength. He just tried his best. This fire cloud sword art skill of yours is pretty good. It should be at the great completion by now. However, you have been stuck at the great completion for a long time. You haven't made any progress, have you? Lin Xuan said it indifferently. Zhang Xin's face lit up when he heard this, and he nodded his head repeatedly. Lin Xuan continued. The fire cloud sword art looks like a fire attribute martial art, but in reality, it shows a kind of freedom and laziness in the situation of flames. So, the most important thing about this sword art is its content, not its form. Your problem is that you are too obsessed with the sword art moves and have forgotten their original meaning. That is why you are stuck at the great completion, unable to advance even an inch. Because, in terms of the technique, you can only reach the great completion at most. If you continue to cultivate, you'll need to comprehend the relevant true meaning. I suggest that you look at the drifting clouds in the sky more often before you practice, or you can think about it before you start. Lin Xuan spoken word for word, his voice slow and peaceful. Zhang Xin's eyes, however, became brighter and brighter. Not long after, he finished speaking. "Come, give me the sword," Lin Xuan said. Zhang Xin was also stunned. He was still comprehending Lin Xuan's words. He subconsciously handed the sword to Lin Xuan. Lin Xuan took the sword, drew a sword flower, and began to attack. A cold light cut across the void. It was as if it had traveled through space, turning into a red cloud and landing on the pavilion. In an instant, a translucent film of light lit up the attic. It was a defensive formation barrier. The sword beam finally transformed into a crimson cloud and landed on the array formation's light barrier. An explosive sound rang out. The entire formation's light barrier shook slightly, and the light dimmed a little before fading away. He turned around and threw the sword back to Zhang Xin. "How about this sword? Senior brother Lin, is this the true meaning of the fire cloud sword art? I understand now. Thank you for your guidance." Zhang Xin regained his senses and thanked Lin Xuan with a joyful expression. "So, the fire cloud sword art is actually this strong. This is great." Zhang Xin thought in his heart, and he couldn't believe it. Lin Xuan smiled without saying a word. When the disciples, who were not far away, heard what he said, they were all stunned on the spot. After they recovered from their shock, they all sucked in a breath of cold air. Following this, the crowd became lively. He comprehended the true meaning of the fire cloud sword art so quickly. His comprehension ability is too terrifying, isn't it? This sword strike of his is very powerful. I think only the top 10 can do it, right? Is this the number one genius of the sect? His talent is too frightening. The disciples discussed animatedly, and they were all extremely shocked. Initially, they had some doubts and thought that Lin Xuan's formidable strength was the result of his terrifying talent. But now they knew that they were wrong. After watching Zhang Xin's demonstration once, Lin Xuan displayed it. Furthermore, he seemed to have comprehended the true meaning within. This was too terrifying. They all didn't dare believe that this scene was real. But the truth was right before their eyes, and they had no choice but to believe it. Only now did they truly witness how terrifying Lin Xuan's talent was. The few people who didn't go outside were also astounded by what they saw in the top 10 pavilions in the distance. The power of this sword technique was much stronger than the fist technique Lin Xuan had used before. Sure enough, Lin Xuan's sword technique was stronger. Currently, no one could force Lin Xuan to use the sword technique. Lin Xuan also had a very strong comprehension ability. He was truly a terrifying person. None of them could compare to him. Chapter 122. The top 10 have submitted. Everyone present, including those who were hiding in the top 10 pavilions, was astounded by Lin Xuan's terrifying talent. Lin Xuan, on the other hand, had a calm expression on his face. In his heart, he wanted to laugh. It was naturally impossible for him to have such a powerful comprehension ability. He had only duplicated this fire cloud sword art, and after absorbing it, he had instantly reached the same level as Zhang Xin. Adding the 40% sword intent to his body, his comprehension of the kendo far surpassed that of these condensation spin stage disciples. He had easily comprehended the true meaning of the fire cloud sword art. As for the power he unleashed, it was the effect of a part of his physical strength. Originally, he had never thought of doing this. He had originally only wanted to use the strong list ranking to extort some cultivation resources. But after hearing that Zhang Xin had taken the initiative to deliver the spirit stone and the contribution points, he suddenly had an idea. This way, he would not only be able to arouse the hatred of others, but he would also be able to cause a commotion, and he would be able to obtain quite a number of energy points. Why wouldn't he do it? Looking at it now, the effect was indeed not bad. Lin Xuan looked around the crowd. Everyone's expression changed. He looked at the energy points that were growing rapidly in the attribute panel in the void in front of him and slightly nodded his head. After that, Lin Xuan continued to walk forward. Everyone also woke up from their daze and followed behind Lin Xuan, discussing non-stop. I never thought that Lin Xuan's comprehension of sword techniques would be so terrifying. His true strength is actually in sword techniques. No wonder he's the #1 genius of the sect, he's too strong. Who is he looking for next? If I can get senior brother Lin Xuan to give me some guidance, I won't suffer too much. This amount of contribution points and spirit stone is enough to get a spirit opening stage inner sect elder to guide me once. But we don't have to suffer serious injuries like Tian Guangliang. That's true. None of us is a match for senior brother Lin, so why don't we take the initiative to hand it over? All the disciples talked as they followed Lin Xuan closely. Soon, Lin Xuan stopped outside the 13th building. In the crowd, a young man in white with a long sword on his back walked out. He came in front of Lin Xuan and said while cupping his hands, "Senior brother Lin, this is the reward of 200,000 contribution points and 10,000 substandard spirit stones. Please give me some pointers on my sword technique." This was the owner of the 13th pavilion, Zhou Ziquan. He also used a sword technique. After witnessing the power of Lin Xuan's casual sword attack, he estimated that he wouldn't even be able to block that sword attack. He knew that he wasn't a match for Lin Xuan. He took the initiative to walk out and hand over his savings. At the same time, he asked Lin Xuan to give him some guidance on his sword technique. His clear water sword had also fallen into a bottleneck, and he couldn't make any progress. Although he could ask an elder of the inner sect to give him guidance, he still couldn't make up his mind. This time, he had no choice but to make a decision. Sure. Lin Xuan put away the storage ring and transferred the contribution points into his identity card, revealing a smile. As expected, the further he went, the more he gained. Unfortunately, he could not do this too many times. Otherwise, if he drew the attention of the higher levels, then it would be troublesome. After all, he was using the rules of the sect. Fortunately, his performance was outstanding, and he was known as the #1 genius of the sect. As long as he didn't go too far, the sect seniors would only turn a blind eye. Therefore, he had to be moderate. He was prepared to extort only 3 people. After that, Lin Xuan swept his eyes across the left side of the building. There was a late stage of spirit opening stage elder standing by the window on the 2nd floor of the building. For example, this elder was here to warn him. If he continued, this elder would stop him. After that, Lin Xuan retracted his gaze and said, "Show me your sword technique that you are good at." Of course, this was only an excuse to buy some time. Time was enough for him to copy that sword technique. "Yes. Senior brother Lin, I'm practicing this clear spring sword art." Zhou Ziquan smiled and nodded. He walked to the side and started practicing. A few minutes later, Lin Xuan was ready to turn around and leave. Behind him was the grateful Zhou Ziquan. The surrounding disciples also had looks of disbelief in their eyes, and their hearts were filled with shock. Obviously, Lin Xuan had no trouble understanding this clear spring sword art. After he guided Zhou Ziquan's skill with the sword increased greatly. This was the reason why everyone present had such an attitude. Lin Xuan also had a satisfied look in his eyes. This time, he earned several tens of thousands of spirit stones and several 100,000 contribution points. All of these were enough for him to cultivate for a while and break through to the condensation spin stage. At this moment, a shout came from behind him. "Senior brother Lin, please wait." Lin Xuan turned around and saw a tall young man, who looked similar to Wu Mengna walking over quickly. "Wu Jia." Lin Xuan raised his eyebrows and looked at the man's attribute panel. He was Wu Mengna's backer in the inner sect, Wu Jia, who was ranked 9th in terms of strength. Wu Jia was indeed worthy of being ranked in the top 10 of the strong list. His attribute panel was indeed several times stronger than the other elite disciples warriors on the scene. Of course, he was still much weaker than the true disciple, Xu Anlin. "You want to take revenge for Wu Mengna? You can accept my challenge, and you will be able to do it." Lin Xuan said it coldly. He originally wanted to earn some cultivation resources, but he didn't want to change his residence for the time being. However, if Wu Jie came looking for trouble, he wouldn't mind fighting him. Currently, amongst the disciples of the inner sect, besides the top 3 on the strong list, no one else was worthy of his attention. "No, you misunderstood me." Wu Jie smiled bitterly and quickly explained. "I am here to apologize for my sister's rudeness." "Oh. Is that so? Lin Xuan looked surprised and a little surprised. He did not expect this. Wu Jie was in the top 10 of the strong list, shouldn't he be arrogant? Why did he give in so quickly? This didn't match the rumors of the inner sect. Lin Xuan also did not understand. Yes, this is my compensation. Please accept it. Also, I promise that my sister will not disturb Junior Zhongchen anymore. Wu Jie said it sincerely, as if he were telling the truth. He even handed over a storage ring. Lin Xuan didn't respond. He first took the storage ring and examined it. 30,000 substandard spirit stones. Lin Xuan looked at the densely packed and sparkling substandard spirit stone inside the storage ring. His heart could not help but skip a beat. He did not expect that Wu Jie would actually give such a huge compensation. Previously, he extorted Tian Guangliang, Zhang Xin, and Zhou Ziquan. In total, he only had over 30,000 spirit stones. Wu Jie, on the other hand, had given so much compensation at once. Lin Xuan was also shocked. Chapter 123. Deterrence. Everyone on the field saw this, and their faces froze, and they couldn't quite accept it. After they recovered from their shock, the crowd once again became noisy. What's going on? Even the 9th strong list member, Wu Jie, apologized to him. This means that senior brother Lin Xuan has surpassed Wu Jie in both strength and potential. That's why Wu Jie wants to resolve this grudge. Senior brother Lin Xuan is indeed the #1 genius of the Drifting Cloud sect. He's too strong. Even the proud Wu Jie has given in. Senior brother Lin Xuan is too powerful. Everyone discussed in low voices, afraid of offending Wu Jie and Lin Xuan. They were extremely shocked. They didn't think that even Wu Jie, who was ranked in the top 10 of the strong list, would bow his head and apologize to Lin Xuan. They had never imagined such a scene. The top 10 on the strong list were the top existences in the inner sect. Their status was high and mighty. If nothing unexpected happened, they would all become true disciples. They were far from what the other disciples could compare with. They could only look up to them. But today, such a scene occurred. They couldn't believe it. At the same time, they were even more shocked by Lin Xuan. He had already far exceeded their imagination. The disciples were even more shocked. Wu Jie ignored them. He looked at Lin Xuan, and his heart was filled with shock and mixed emotions. Originally, he had never intended to apologize. He was not the kind of person who would easily give in. He even thought about how to take revenge after learning that his younger sister, Wu Mengna, had been bullied. Even if it was Wu Mengna who was in the wrong, it was just that Lin Xuan's reputation was too great. He was known as the #1 genius of the sect. He had received a lot of attention from the sect seniors, and he was somewhat afraid of them. The latest strong list register estimated that Lin Xuan had strength close to the top 10 of the strong list. Although he was ranked in the top 10, he was only ranked at the bottom of the top 10. If he could not take down Lin Xuan, he would lose face. That was why he didn't do anything. Today, he saw Lin Xuan taking the initiative to challenge him. Although he did not leave the attic, he was still watching from the window on the 2nd floor of the attic. After witnessing Lin Xuan instantly kill Tian Guangliang, he finally knew that the rumors in the sect were true. He really didn't have the slightest confidence in defeating Lin Xuan. Later on, Lin Xuan gave Zhang Xin some pointers. After reading it once, he easily grasped it and even comprehended the true meaning. After that, he demonstrated a sword. The power of that sword move caused even the light barrier of the formation to tremble. He actually realized that it was very difficult for him to block it. And that was just a casual slash from Lin Xuan. Obviously, he hadn't even used his sword before. It was only now that he was sure that Lin Xuan was even more terrifying than he had imagined. He was far from being Lin Xuan's match. He couldn't help but be astounded by Lin Xuan's terrifying talent right away. When he came back to his senses, Lin Xuan actually guided another sword technique and displayed his true intent. The two sword techniques had different grades and attributes. But Lin Xuan had easily achieved it. If the first time was a coincidence, then the second time was inevitable. Only now did he realize how terrifying Lin Xuan was. It was far beyond his imagination. He didn't want to take revenge on him anymore. When he saw that Lin Xuan was about to turn around and leave, he hurriedly chased after him. He knew that Lin Xuan lacked cultivation resources, so he took the initiative to offer 30,000 substandard spirit stones as compensation in order to resolve the grudge between them. After all, he was no match for Lin Xuan now. In a few months' time, Lin Xuan would probably become the first-ranked strong list, or even the true disciple. At that time, if Lin Xuan remembered the past grudges, he wouldn't need to do it himself. As long as he expressed some dissatisfaction, countless people would try to please him and help him. At that time, even if he was in the top 10 of the strong list, it would be useless. At that time, it would be really dangerous. Therefore, there were only two ways to deal with an existence like Lin Xuan. One was to get rid of him before he matured. The second way was to apologize and resolve the grudge between them. However, Lin Xuan's current strength was not something he could compare with. Furthermore, Lin Xuan was the #1 genius of the Drifting Cloud sect, and he was the focus of the sect seniors. He didn't have the ability to deal with Lin Xuan yet. Therefore, he could only choose the second option. Although it would be a bit embarrassing, as long as he could resolve the grudge, it didn't matter. In order to protect the future, all these were necessary. On the other side, Lin Xuan didn't know that Wu Jie was thinking so much. After checking, he smiled faintly and nodded slightly. It's fine. It's just a small conflict. It's all in the past. Lin Xuan waved his hand casually. Of course, whether these words were true or not, perhaps it was because of the 30,000 spirit stones that he said them. Then I will have to thank senior brother Lin. Wu Jie let out a long sigh upon seeing this. He expressed his thanks once again and relaxed. When Lin Xuan saw this scene, he secretly sighed in his heart. Although Wu Jie's actions exceeded his expectations, he could roughly guess why Wu Jie had suddenly changed his attitude. It was probably because his action of killing Tian Guangliang in an instant scared Wu Jie. He had not expected this, but it was reasonable. Sure enough, in this world, the strong were respected, and strength was the most important. He had only displayed some of his strength, and he had achieved such an effect before he even made a move. However, this was also not bad. He just happened to lack cultivation resources. Wu Jie had also sent so many resources over. This was enough for him to cultivate for a long time and break through a few realms. After that, they chatted for a while longer. Lin Xuan turned around and left under the gazes of everyone present. He entered the 28th building and disappeared without a trace. Only then did everyone withdraw their gazes and sigh with emotion. Although Lin Xuan's strong list was still ranked 28th, there was no change. But after today, everyone knew that Lin Xuan's strength was enough to jump into the top 10. It was just that he disdained doing this. Not long after, everyone on the scene dispersed. On the outer perimeter of the strong list residential area, there were also many disciples of the inner sect gathered. The spiritual energy in the strong list area was rich, and it was far from what the other areas could compare with. In addition, those who lived in this area were the top figures of the inner sect. Every one of them had a high chance of becoming a true disciple of the inner sect, and they could even be ranked among the sect seniors. Chapter 124 Third Level of Consolidated Reality. If anyone can suck up to someone here, his power will be greatly improved. Therefore, there were a lot of ordinary disciples and elites of the inner sect gathering outside the strong list district every day. They had seen everything that happened in the strong list districts today. All of a sudden, all the disciples of the inner sect were shocked. They were once more astounded by Lin Xuan's terrifying talent. After a long time, they regained their senses and dispersed. Such a major event had happened in the strong list district. It was a rare joy in their boring cultivation lives. Of course, they wanted to spread this news. And Lin Xuan didn't know about this. He returned to the attic. Lin Xuan tidied up his gains from today's event and revealed a trace of a smile. 450,000 contribution points, 54,000 substandard spirit stones, all of these were enough for him to cultivate for a period of time. After that, Lin Xuan entered the cultivation room and continued his secluded cultivation. While Lin Xuan was in seclusion, another storm was stirred up in the inner sect. What surprised everyone was that the target this time was still Lin Xuan. Hu Yuanhua defeated Lin Xuan, who was 28th in the strong list, with his chi transformation stage cultivation base. In just a few days, he initiated another challenge. Tian Guangliang, who was ranked 22nd, actually had no strength to resist. Lin Xuan was successful in defeating him. The strength that Lin Xuan displayed was close to the top 10 of the strong list. This was similar to the information that was announced on the strong list register. Lin Xuan's terrifying strength astounded everyone who heard about it. What Lin Xuan did next shocked everyone. He had a strange expression on his face as if he wanted to say something. Lin Xuan didn't take Tian Guangliang's strong list token. Instead, he asked Tian Guangliang to pay for his own strong list token. He wanted to use the ranking of the strong list to blackmail Tian Guangliang. Tian Guangliang compromised and handed over his savings. Everyone's expressions became even stranger. They didn't expect Lin Xuan to succeed. They were speechless. After that, Lin Xuan continued to earn money. Zhang Xin, who was ranked 18th, also took the initiative to hand over his savings, and found a good reason for Lin Xuan. He said that this was the reward for Lin Xuan's guidance in martial arts. Lin Xuan really did give Zhang Xin some guidance. He told him the shortcomings of Zhang Xin's sword technique. Lin Xuan also demonstrated it once. He casually swung his sword at the pavilion. The defensive formation covering the pavilion automatically lit up. In the end, ripples appeared on the light barrier of the formation, and the light weakened by a bit. Everyone was stunned. Everyone knew that the defensive array formation of every pavilion in the strong list district was specially set up. Even spirit opening stage warriors would find it hard to break this defensive formation. However, Lin Xuan's attack was so powerful. This meant that Lin Xuan's strength had already entered the top 10 of the strong list. Furthermore, this was an attack that Lin Xuan casually unleashed after observing the sword technique once. This wasn't his true strength. In other words, Lin Xuan's strength was much stronger than this. Then his ranking would be even higher. Everyone was shocked. Although none of the elite disciples admitted it, no one denied it. They had already tacitly agreed. Or, in other words, was it true? Everyone was even more shocked by Lin Xuan's terrifying strength and talent. Later on, the 13th Zhou Ziquan on the strong list voluntarily handed over his savings, and Lin Xuan taught Zhou Ziquan a completely different sword technique. The 9th Wu Jie of the strong list took the initiative to apologize to Lin Xuan and resolve their grudges. All of this proved Lin Xuan's terrifying talent and strength. Lin Xuan's name once again spread throughout the sect. His reputation had increased several times. He was the publicly acknowledged #1 genius of the sect, and no one dared to doubt him anymore. Even the core disciples, who had initially doubted him, had nothing to say now. However, after sect leader Lu Changfeng heard it, they let out a long sigh. Wang Zufeng, who was in the martial arts pavilion, was secretly delighted and started to pray silently. Lin Xuan was still unaware of all this. Because he had enough spirit stone, he spent most of his time cultivating it in seclusion. He wanted to increase his cultivation base as much as possible. The time slowly passed. Unknowingly, 5 days had passed. In the cultivation room, the wind howled and a thunderous aura spread out, creating a crackling sound. Soon, it disappeared again. Lin Xuan, who was sitting cross-legged on the hassock, slowly opened his eyes. A bright light flashed across his eyes, and he looked at the void in front of him. Divine Level Duplication System. Host, Lin Xuan. Realm, Condensation Spin Stage Level 3. Talent, Spirit Grade Cultivation Talent, Superior Grade Talent, Speed, Strength, Pill Refining Top Grade Talent, Blade Dao, Kendo and Top Grade Attribute Talent, Sharp Gold, Fierce Wind, Crimson Fire, Green Wood, Earth and Heavy Water Top Grade Attribute Talent, Ice, Lightning Martial Art, Golden Scale Barbaric Elephant Arts, Unknown Incomplete, Beginner Level, Mixed Essence Formula, Mid-Grade Rank 7, Small Completion, Rising Sun Saber Technique, Low Rank 7, Great Completion, Sky Quake Sword Art, Low Rank 7. Great Completion, and Tyrant Fist, Low Rank 7, Great Completion, Startling Waves Palm, Low Rank 7, Great Completion, Split Space Leg, Low Rank 7. Great Completion. Shadow Pursuing Skill, Low Rank 7, Great Completion, Flame Manipulation, Low Rank, Small Completion. Concept, 40% Saber Intent, 40% Sword Intent, 40% Artistic Conception of Wind, and 20% Artistic Conception of Gold. Concept, 30% Artistic Conception of Fire, 20% Artistic Conception of Earth, and 10% Artistic Conception of Wood. Energy points, 2,0860000. Walk space, 432. Lin Xuan nodded slightly as he looked at the attribute panel in the void in front of him. A smile flashed across his eyes. I have finally broken through to the condensation spin stage, and I have reached the condensation spin stage level 3 in one go. In these 5 days, he had used up all the 50,000 substandard spirit stones he had earned. There were still more than 400,000 contribution points left, and he had exchanged them for quite a number of pills, leaving him with only 100,000. With so many cultivation resources added up, he was finally not disappointed, this time. Not only did he successfully break through to the condensation spin stage, but he had also broken through several levels, reaching the condensation spin stage level 3. Lin Xuan was also quite satisfied. In addition, he also had the Golden Scale Barbaric Elephant Arts. This time, my Golden Scale Barbaric Elephant Arts has improved a lot as well. Lin Xuan murmured in his heart. He could feel that his body was much stronger than before. He threw out a punch. The endless air in front of him exploded in an instant. The level 1 transparent light shield suddenly appeared, and it bore most of the force. After a while, the light became dimmer and dimmer before dissipating. This was the defensive formation of the pavilion. When it sensed that the attack had reached a certain level, it would automatically activate. At this moment, Lin Xuan's casual punch was much more powerful than the one he had demonstrated to Zhang Xin 5 days ago. Chapter 125. Apothecary Guild. Is this the strength of £1,000,000, equivalent to the strength of a cow? Looking at the scene in front of him, Lin Xuan slowly retracted his fist. He muttered in his heart, and his eyes sparkled. This time, as his cultivation base increased by several realms, the Golden Scale Barbaric Elephant Arts also improved a lot. His strength had increased by several 100,000 jin once again, reaching 1,000,000 jin. In ancient times, the strength of an ordinary barbaric bull was equivalent to that of 1,000,000 jin. Therefore, 1,000,000 jin of strength was also known as the strength of a bull. It seemed very ordinary. But in modern times, it was already very impressive. Not to mention condensation spin stage warriors, even spirit opening stage warriors couldn't reach this level. Only spiritual essence stage warriors could cultivate bodybuilding martial arts at the same time. With the strength of 1,000,000 kilograms, condensation spin stage peak warriors could easily crush them with one punch. Even ordinary early spirit opening stage warriors might not be able to withstand the strength of 1,000,000 kilograms. Even so, he still did not cultivate the Golden Scale Barbaric Elephant Arts to the beginner level. This also showed how extraordinary the Golden Scale Barbaric Elephant Arts were. Lin Xuan slightly nodded his head. He was very satisfied with the result of this seclusion. He continued to scan the attribute panel. 5 days ago, when he was earning cultivation resources in the strong list area, he shocked many elite disciples and warriors and duplicated some treasures. After he absorbed all the treasures, his various talents were also raised to the peak level of the sect. His martial arts and concepts hadn't changed much either. Lin Xuan continued to sweep his gaze downward. 2,000,000 energy points. When his gaze landed at the bottom of the attribute panel, Lin Xuan's heart trembled, and his expression became joyful. After a while, Lin Xuan let out a long breath, and only then did he calm down a little. However, the smile in his eyes did not diminish. He also did not expect that in just a few days, he would actually be able to accumulate such a huge amount of energy points. With so many energy points, it was enough for him to duplicate many high-grade treasures. Lin Xuan was naturally delighted. It seems that after my performance a few days ago spread out, it caused another commotion within the sect. Lin Xuan nodded slightly, and a look of realization appeared in his eyes. A few minutes later, Lin Xuan tidied up his state of mind, and left the cultivation room. He rested for a while. In the courtyard, he sat on a chair and smelled the fragrance of flowers and dessert. He took out the basic book of Pill Dao that Zhang Chen had given him and started to read it. During the past few days, his name has spread far and wide within the sect, and he has obtained a huge amount of energy points. But at the same time, he had also revealed a portion of his strength, so it was no longer that convenient for him to earn cultivation resources. He had to find another way out. This way out was the Pill Dao. In the pill refining pavilion, he found the alchemy talent and successfully copied it. After that, Lin Xuan made up his mind. Besides, with the alchemy talent, as long as he kept duplicating it, he would be able to raise its grade. To him, the pill Dao was an extremely easy task. He didn't need to waste too much time as he would be able to earn a huge amount of cultivation resources. Why not? After spending more than an hour, he finished reading all the books he got from Zhang Chen and wrote them down. Now, he had a certain understanding of the Tao of alchemy. After that, Lin Xuan tidied up his things and let Zhou Yun guard the courtyard before leaving. With the identity token of the strong list, he easily left the Drifting Cloud sect. He headed straight to Wind Cloud City, the closest place to the Drifting Cloud sect. The Wind Cloud City was one of the 5 major cities in the Kangyuan country. It was several times bigger than an ordinary county. It was built near the Drifting Cloud sect, but it was not under the jurisdiction of the Drifting Cloud sect. In the Wind Cloud City, there were many major powers that were not as powerful as the Drifting Cloud sect. There were also some major powers that were far more powerful than the Drifting Cloud sect, and they had their own branches. For example, some chambers of commerce, the Apothecary Guild, the Refiners Guild, and so on. Therefore, the Drifting Cloud sect didn't dare to, or it could be said that they didn't have the qualifications to rule the Wind Cloud City. These were all explained in the books that Zhang Chen had given them. There was also a map of the way from the Drifting Cloud sect to the Wind Cloud City. The reason Lin Xuan left the Drifting Cloud sect this time was because of the Apothecary Guild in the Wind Cloud City. As for the Apothecary Guild, there were also some detailed descriptions in the books. Numerous years ago, a few eminent alchemists organized the Apothecary Guild, an independent gathering. Today, it has developed into a powerful force that covers the entire Team Yuan continent. No force dared to underestimate the Apothecary Guild. Because almost 90% of the high-grade alchemists came from the Apothecary Guild, whether it was the major powers or individuals, even the top experts would need to use pills to improve their cultivation base and strength. They would ask for help from the Apothecary Guild. Therefore, no one was willing to offend the Apothecary Guild. The Apothecary Guild in the Wind Cloud City was a branch. However, even if it was a branch, it wasn't any weaker than the Drifting Cloud sect. In fact, it was even slightly stronger. The Drifting Cloud sect also had many high-grade pills that they wanted to buy from the Apothecary Guild. It was precisely because Lin Xuan had obtained this information that this operation was initiated. Within the Wind Cloud City, the Apothecary Guild's ability to concoct pills was much stronger than the Drifting Cloud sect's pill refining hall. If he went to the Apothecary Guild, it would be easier for him to duplicate more treasures and upgrade his alchemy talent. He only needed to get another alchemist certificate. With the Apothecary Guild's background, he could concoct pills and sell pills to earn a large amount of cultivation resources. At that time, he would be able to continue improving his cultivation base and strength. Half an hour later, he left the Drifting Cloud sect. Lin Xuan scanned his surroundings and sensed them. After confirming that no one was following him, he stopped hiding. He started to travel at full speed. With the help of the 40% artistic conception of wind and the rank 7 movement technique, his speed increased by more than 10 times. Even early spirit opening stage warriors couldn't compare to Lin Xuan in terms of speed. Soon, more than an hour had passed. 1. A city as majestic as a beast appeared in front of Lin Xuan. This gave him a feeling that shook his soul. Is this the Wind Cloud City? As expected of one of the top cities in the Kangyuan country. Lin Xuan looked from afar and murmured in a low voice. After that, he slowed down and continued on his way. Not long after, he entered the Wind Cloud City. There were pavilions, red bricks, and green tiles here. It looked like a big, ancient city. The prosperity of this place was even closer to the big cities that Lin Xuan had seen in his past life. It was far from comparable to a small city like Green Jade City. Lin Xuan looked around and sighed with emotion in his heart. However, he had experience from his past life. Although these things surprised him a little, it was nothing. Lin Xuan quickly calmed down. After asking around, he walked towards the Apothecary Guild. Not long after, he arrived in front of a huge building complex that looked like a pill tripod. A fragrant scent was emitted. The signboard at the entrance was inscribed with the words, Apothecary Guild. An intimidating aura filled the air. These words would pierce a person's eyes if his cultivation base wasn't at the condensation spin stage. This is the Apothecary Guild? Lin Xuan stood on the square outside the door, staring at the scene. The surrounding people were all at least late Qi transformation stage warriors, and there were also many condensation spin stage warriors. This showed the status of the Apothecary Guild. Chapter 126. Mo Ruyan. There were no guards outside the Apothecary Guild. Because no one dared to cause trouble in the Apothecary Guild. They didn't need guards to maintain order. Moreover, don't think that alchemists only knew how to concoct pills. Their strength was very weak. Every alchemist could concoct a large number of precious pills and sell them. They were very wealthy. They didn't lack spirit stone, and they also had countless spirit, weapon secret manuals and treasures. They don't even need to launch an attack. They can easily crush those at the same level with all kinds of treasures. However, this was not a big deal. The most powerful thing about alchemists was their appeal. Even top experts had to find an alchemist to concoct pills. Thus, every apothecary had a terrifying network of connections. There were many problems that they didn't even need to deal with before someone took the initiative to settle them for them. Those who dared to cause trouble in the Apothecary Guild would find it hard to come out again. Lin Xuan looked around and pondered for a while. Then he walked into the Apothecary Guild. At this moment, a proud female voice came from behind him. "What are you standing at the door for? Get out of the way." Lin Xuan heard the voice and looked over. He saw a beautiful girl with a curvy figure and long shoulder-length hair walking over quickly. She was wearing a white robe specially designed for alchemists. There was a palm-sized pill tripod carved on her chest, and there were 2 gray pentagram stars on the pill tripod. Lin Xuan's expression changed when he saw this. He did not expect to meet a pill refinement genius so easily. He gained some understanding of the Pill Dao and Apothecary Guild after reading the Pill Dao book that Zhang Chen had given him. In the Apothecary Guild, alchemists were divided into different grades according to their proficiency in concocting the highest grade of pills. They were divided into mortal, earthly, heavenly, and rank 4. Each grade was further divided into lower, middle, and upper grades. Among them, mortal rank low grade was the lowest, and heaven rank first class was the highest. Mortal rank alchemists could only concoct rank 3 pills, which were the lowest level of qi gathering stage pills. Therefore, the robes of such alchemists were completely blank and the most crude. They were also the most common alchemists. As for those above spirit, earth, and heaven rank, they were much rarer. The custom-made alchemist robes of the Apothecary Guild were also much more exquisite. A palm-sized pill tripod was carved on the chest of their alchemist robes, and a pentagram was carved on it. 1 star represented a low grade, and 3 stars represented a first class. Then, they would be divided according to the color. The pill tripod and the pentagonal star were gray in color. They were spiritual rank, silver was earth rank, and gold was heaven rank. However, in the entire Scorching Sun domain, the highest grade was earth-ranked alchemists, and they were called great alchemists. As for heaven-rank alchemists, they were also known as master alchemists. There was not a single person in the entire Scorching Sun domain. They were probably only able to appear in the outer regions, or even more prosperous regions. The symbol on the chest of this pretty girl was that she was a spiritual rank mid-grade alchemist. Looking at her appearance, she was obviously not even 20 years old, which showed that she was a genius alchemist. Lin Xuan immediately looked at the attribute panel. Name, Mo Ruin. Cultivation, Condensation Spin Stage Level 7. Talent, Spirit Grade Cultivation Talent, Spirit Grade Alchemy Talent, Top Grade Strength, Top Grade Speed Talent, Top Grade Swordplay Talent, Top Grade Crimson Fire Talent, Top Grade Green Wood Attribute Talent, and Top Grade Violent Wind Attribute Talent. Top Grade Sharp Gold Talent Martial Art, Flame Yuanhua Cloud Secret Art, Rank 6. Top Grade, Small Completion, Flame Manipulation, Low Rank 6. Green Flame Feather Concentrating Sword Art, Low Rank 6, Great Completion, Greenwood Life Transformation Hand, Low Rank 6, Great Completion, Violent Winds and Waves Palm, Low Rank 6. Great Completion. Concept, 1/2 incomplete artistic conception of fire, 5% artistic conception of wood, half incomplete sword intent. Treasure, none. Looking at Mo Ruin's attribute panel in the void in front of him, Lin Xuan was also startled. Theoretically speaking, a spiritual rank alchemy talent could reach the earth-ranked alchemist. This attribute panel was much stronger than the number 1 alchemist genius in the Drifting Cloud sect, Zhang Chen. And this was just a random person he met at the entrance. Lin Xuan was shocked. Sure enough, in terms of alchemy, the Apothecary Guild was much stronger than the Drifting Cloud sect. This trip was a wise choice for him. As for Mo Ruin's spirit grade alchemy talent and spirit grade cultivation talent, Lin Xuan would never let them go. His mind moved. Consumed 100,000 energy points, duplicated successfully, and obtained the spirit grade alchemy talent. Consumed 100,000 energy points, duplicated successfully, and obtained spirit grade alchemy talent. He immediately chose to use it. A warm current flowed through his body. Congratulations! You have improved your cultivation talent. Congratulations on breaking through to the spirit grade alchemy talent. A cold voice echoed in his ears. I have broken through to the spirit grade. Lin Xuan muttered in his heart. A satisfied look flashed across his eyes. And this was only at the entrance of the Apothecary Guild. He believed that there would be more alchemy talent in the Apothecary Guild. If he duplicated all of them, his abilities would increase by quite a bit. Lin Xuan was looking forward to it. All of this happened in the blink of an eye. No one on the scene noticed it. Not far away, Mo Ruin could feel Lin Xuan's gaze falling on her chest. Her eyes flashed with embarrassment and anger, and she wanted to get angry. But when she saw Lin Xuan's face, she suppressed her anger once again. She coldly snorted and stopped arguing. She continued walking towards the Apothecary Guild. Miss Mo Ruin. Suddenly, a voice came from the crowd. Miss Mo Ruin. You actually don't know Miss Mo Ruin? Miss Mo Ruin is one of the 3 beauties of Wind Cloud City. Furthermore, Miss Mo Ruin is only 18 years old. She is already a condensation spin stage level 7. Not only that, Miss Mo Ruin is also a Pildao genius. She is now a spiritual rank mid-grade alchemist. It is rare to see a beauty with both looks and talent like Miss Mo. The surrounding young warriors were discussed animatedly. Everyone's gaze fell on Mo Ruin, and it was filled with unconcealed adoration. Mo Ruin, on the other hand, acted as if she hadn't heard anything and went to the entrance of the Apothecary Guild. A maid with an ordinary appearance and dressed in green clothes walked out. She said it with a charming smile on her face. Miss Mo, are you going to participate in the spiritual rank top grade alchemist examination this time? Yes. I have tried many times. There shouldn't be any problems this time. Mo Ruin replied with a light laugh. Then I will congratulate you on your success in the exam first. Liu smiled and said, Liu, when I succeed, I will reward you more. When Mo Ruin heard this, the smile on her face also increased a little. Then I will thank Miss Mo. With your talent, you will definitely become an Earth rank alchemy master in the future. It was unlike some people who were so scared that they could not walk when they saw the Apothecary Guild. He even wanted to block Miss Mo's path. Liu flattered Mo Ruin and took the opportunity to ridicule Lin Xuan. When Lin Xuan heard this, his face turned cold. If it were other martial artists, seeing a beauty like Mo Ruin, they might be so nervous that they would not be able to speak. They would put all their attention on Mo Ruin and ignore Liu's words. But Lin Xuan had seen many beautiful women in his previous life. For example, Guan Yuanchuang, the number 1 beauty of the Drifting Cloud sect's outer sect, was not any worse than Mo Ruin. Lin Xuan showed no mercy. Not to mention Mo Ruin, whom he had never met before. Lin Xuan would naturally not pay attention to her. Even if she were a maid in the Apothecary Guild, so what? Lin Xuan didn't want to look at her. Chapter 127. Teach him a lesson. Lin Xuan's face turned cold when he heard the mocking voice of the maid. You are just a maid, how dare you be so arrogant? As soon as Lin Xuan finished his words, Lia's expression froze. She did not think that Lin Xuan would dare to scold her. As a maid of the Apothecary Guild, Liu could be considered a staff member of the Apothecary Guild. Although she was only a chi-gathering stage warrior, many condensation spin stage warriors treated her politely. There were very few people like Lin Xuan. Immediately, Liu reacted and became furious. She wanted to scold him. But the moment she saw Lin Xuan's gaze, she couldn't help but tremble. A chill ran through her entire body. In her eyes, he was even more terrifying than a flood of ferocious beasts. In an instant, her anger dissipated by more than half. At this moment, several cold laughs came from the surrounding crowd. He actually dared to block Miss Mo's path. He deserves to be scolded by Liu. Liu is Miss Mo's friend. Miss Mo is not only a pill-refining genius, she is also the granddaughter of Earth-ranked alchemist, Master Mo. He is too detestable, how dare he be so arrogant? The surrounding martial artists kept ridiculing him, and there were also many people whose eyes flickered. They all wanted to rush forward and teach Lin Xuan a lesson. A cold expression appeared on Lin Xuan's face. Did they really think that he was easy to bully? Mo Ruan looked over. She stood beside Liu and coldly snorted. Who asked you to block the way there? You really do not have the manliness. Initially, Lin Xuan kept staring at her chest, which made her very unhappy. Because Lin Xuan was handsome, she was not angry. She did not think that Lin Xuan would dare say that. Immediately, Mo Ruan was a little angry. Lin Xuan's expression was cold. His eyes swept over Mo Ruan, and he said in a cold voice without any mercy, whether I have manliness or not, it has nothing to do with you. This path is so wide, what right do you have to say that I am blocking your path? Also, your maid insulted me. Is this the way the Apothecary Guild treats their guests? He looked at Mo Ruan's attribute panel. It was indeed not bad. She was a top genius in the Drifting Cloud sect. She had a pretty face and a hot body. But so, what? He was not a lustful person. As for her background, he didn't care even more. Her grandfather was only an Earth-ranked alchemist. If he could duplicate a few more alchemy talents, he would be able to do it. Therefore, Lin Xuan wouldn't be polite to her. Mo Ruan was stunned when she heard this and did not react. She was a rare alchemist genius, and her grandfather was an Earth-ranked alchemist and elder of the Apothecary Guild. Furthermore, she was very good-looking, and everyone was very friendly to her. She had never met someone like Lin Xuan. At once, Mo Ruan was very angry. She was so angry that her chest kept moving up and down. Miss Mo, let me teach him a lesson for you. In the crowd, a handsome young man could no longer bear it when he saw this. He shouted coldly and rushed towards Lin Xuan, throwing out a punch. I also want to beat him up. This bastard is too detestable. We can't let him go. A few more people rushed out at the same time, surrounding and attacking Lin Xuan. Each of them was at least at the late condensation spin stage. All of them lunged at Lin Xuan at the same time. Lin Xuan's expression didn't change, he just sneered. He struck out with his palm, and he didn't even use his martial art. In an instant, a fierce wind howled as if the space itself had been crushed. It was extremely terrifying. The faces of the few youths who rushed over all changed greatly. They felt an endless amount of strength, surging towards them like a flood. How could they withstand it? They were sent flying backwards, crashing into the crowd, causing a series of miserable screams to ring out. The entire arena fell silent. Then, the scene became even more noisy. This individual's palm strike was sufficient to defeat Chen He, Lu Huan, and Zhang Han. His strength is much stronger than condensation spin stage peak. He is still so young. He is also a top genius. The surrounding people discussed it animatedly. This was the entrance of the Apothecary Guild. The people who came and went were, at least at the late Qi transformation stage. Their horizons were far from what ordinary warriors could compare with. They could naturally see Lin Xuan's strength. However, they never thought that he would be able to defeat a few late condensation spin stage warriors in an instant. His strength was truly frightening. Furthermore, he hadn't used his full strength just now. If he used his full strength, how terrifying would his strength be? They looked at Lin Xuan's young face. Everyone knew that he was a top genius. Even in the Kangyuan country, he could be considered a top genius. Everyone was naturally shocked. They didn't dare to mock him anymore. Their eyes turned into reverence. On the opposite side, Mo Ruan was also stunned. She did not expect that it would be such a scene. She did not stop them because she wanted Chen He to teach him a lesson on her behalf. She didn't anticipate him defeating Chen He so easily, though. It was also because of this that Mo Ruan was even more shocked. One should know that Chen He and Lu Huan were both top geniuses in Wind Cloud City. She had no confidence in winning against any one of them. However, they were all defeated. It was as if they weren't on the same level. He was way too strong. Mo Ruin muttered in her heart. She was very shocked. The anger in her heart had mostly dissipated. You dare to find trouble with me with just this bit of ability? You are really a bunch of trash. Lin Xuan sneered and surveyed the crowd. Wherever his gaze passed, everyone lowered their heads, not daring to meet Lin Xuan's eyes. Some of the people who were feeling indignant felt Lin Xuan's cold gaze and thought of Lin Xuan's strength. Their bodies trembled, not daring to have any more thoughts. Mo Ruin let out a cold snort when she saw this. Consider yourself powerful this time. I still have some matters to attend to, so I won't make a fuss about them with you. After witnessing Lin Xuan's strength, she knew that she wouldn't be able to gain any advantages. She turned around and walked towards the inner area of the Apothecary Guild. Chapter 128. Master Ren Yuan. So, you're saying I did something wrong? Lin Xuan sneered and looked at Liu. If you apologize to me, this matter will pass. Liu was furious when she heard this, but when she thought of the power of Lin Xuan's palm, her heart trembled, and her anger dissipated. But she couldn't apologize to him in front of everyone. She looked at Mo Ruin. Mo Ruin wanted to say something when she saw this. At this time, an old voice came from the door. Why is the entrance so noisy? At this moment, a white-haired old man wearing a black alchemist robe walked out. On the pill tripod in the old man's clothes was a pentagon star. The pill tripod and pentagon star were both silver in color. This meant that he was an earth-rank, low-grade alchemist. In the world of martial arts, alchemists had a much higher status than ordinary warriors. Even spiritual essence stage warriors did not dare look down on earth-ranked alchemists. Master Ren Yuan. Hello, Master Ren Yuan. When the crowd saw Master Ren Yuan, they immediately bowed and greeted him. What happened here? Master Ren Yuan glanced at the crowd and asked coldly. Liu heard him and quickly explained. Master Ren Yuan, this man blocked Miss Mo's way and injured many guests of the Apothecary Guild. He still wants to teach me a lesson. It's all thanks to you that you came in time. Otherwise, he would have beat me up. When Liu saw Master Ren Yuan coming out, she no longer feared Lin Xuan. Is that really the case? Master Ren Yuan's expression was indifferent. Lin Xuan knew that Master Ren Yuan was an earth-ranked alchemist. However, he wasn't afraid at all. You are distorting the truth. I don't want to say it anymore. If you believe her, then I'll leave. Lin Xuan sneered and didn't say anything else. He had no interest in the Apothecary Guild anymore. If he duplicated the treasure on Master Ren Yuan's body, his alchemy talent would be the best in the entire Scorching Sun domain. He didn't need to take the alchemist's qualification test. He could buy the materials himself to concoct pills, and he would be able to earn enough cultivation resources. When Master Ren Yuan heard this, he glanced at Lin Xuan and Liu. He did not say anything else. He stretched out his hand and grabbed a fist-sized gray crystal fell from a corner of the door. The crystal fell into his hand. Shadow crystal. Lin Xuan's expression became serious. He had heard of the shadow crystal. It was said that it could record images for a period of time, which was equivalent to a video camera. Of course, its clarity was definitely not as good as a video camera. But in the ancient martial arts world, it was already very good. The shadow crystal was very expensive. Many spiritual essence stage warriors couldn't afford such a large shadow crystal. And it was placed on the door, just like that. The Apothecary Guild was indeed rich. Lin Xuan sighed in his heart. Besides, with this shadow crystal, many things could be explained clearly. Master Ren Yuan entered a trace of spiritual essence into the shadow crystal. Instantly, the shadow crystal released a ray of light, projecting a translucent image. In the image, everything that had happened before was replayed. Although it was played very quickly, the martial artists present could see it clearly. Lia's face immediately turned pale, and her body began to tremble when she saw the scene that the shadow crystal had released. Master Ren Yuan, it's my fault. I shouldn't look down on people. Quickly go and apologize. If there's a next time, you don't have to come anymore. Master Ren Yuan shouted coldly. Liu looked at Mo Ruin. Mo Ruin shook her head, indicating that there was nothing she could do. Master Ren Yuan and her grandfather were both Earth-ranked alchemists, so her identity was useless. They were not in the right, so she could not say anything else. When the rest of the people saw Master Ren Yuan, they all shrunk their heads and became even more frightened. Liu looked unwilling, but she still walked in front of Lin Xuan and said in a low voice, "Customer, I was wrong." Lin Xuan's expression was cold. "I didn't have any grudges with you before. If you had apologized before, things wouldn't have happened now." After that, he no longer paid attention to Liu. Liu returned to Mo Ruin's side. Mo Ruin coldly snorted and brought Liu into the Apothecary Guild. "Your talent in martial arts is not bad." Master Ren Yuan did not leave immediately. Instead, he put the shadow crystal back in its original position and looked at Lin Xuan with a faint smile. As a spiritual essence stage, even if he was an alchemist, his eyesight was far from what these condensation spin stage warriors could compare with. With just a glance, he could tell that Lin Xuan was only a condensation spin stage level 3. However, his foundation was so strong that no one in the Wind Cloud City could compare with him, including those spiritual essence stage warriors. He had defeated several late condensation spin stage warriors with a single palm strike when combined with the image that the shadow crystal projected. He was much stronger than most of the other condensation spin stage peak warriors. Perhaps his strength was comparable to that of an ordinary early spirit opening stage warrior. Even though he was an Earth-ranked alchemist warrior, he had seen countless geniuses. However, Lin Xuan was still one of the top warriors among them. He was naturally worthy of being treated differently. "Master Ren Yuan, thank you for your praise." Lin Xuan replied with a smile. From the looks of it, apart from a few people, this Apothecary Guild wasn't bad. His eyes swept across Master Ren Yuan. Name: Ren Yuan. Cultivation: Spiritual Essence Stage Level 1. Talent: Spirit Grade Cultivation Talent, Spirit Grade Alchemy Talent, Top Grade Strength Talent, Top Grade Speed Talent, Top Grade Swordplay Talent, Top Grade Violent Wind Attribute Talent, Top Grade Sharp Gold Talent, and Top Grade Crimson Fire Talent. Top Grade Earth Talent, Top Grade Greenwood Attribute Talent. Martial Art: Green Elemental Fire Spirit Sword Art, High Rank 7, Small Completion. Flame Manipulation, Mid Grade Rank 7, Small Completion. Blazing Fire Palm, Mid Grade Rank 7, Small Completion. Wind Shadow Technique, Mid-Grade Rank 7, Small Completion Concept, 25% Sword Intent, 40% Artistic Conception of Fire, 40% Artistic Conception of Wood, 20% Artistic Conception of Gold. Treasure: none. Looking at the attribute panel in the void in front of him, Lin Xuan was shocked. This was the most powerful attribute panel he had ever seen. No wonder he was an Earth-ranked alchemist, he was really rich. If this attribute panel were in the Drifting Cloud sect, perhaps even the top management of the sect might not be able to compare with it. Immediately, he was very happy. It just so happened that he had accumulated over 2 million energy points. Now, he could replicate a lot of other people's talents. Chapter 129. Great Master values it. You have consumed 100,000 energy points and successfully duplicated them. You have obtained the Spirit Grade Alchemy Talent. You have used 100,000 energy points. Duplication successful. You have obtained the Green Elemental Fire Spirit Sword Art, High Rank 7, Small Completion. You have used 100,000 energy points. Duplication successful. You have obtained the Artistic Conception of Wood. In the blink of an eye, he had duplicated all the treasures on Master Ren Yuan's body. Among them, the main ones were his talent and concept. As for martial arts, Lin Xuan had only duplicated the highest grade, High Rank 7 Green Elemental Fire Spirit Sword Art, and the mid-grade, Rank 7 Flame Manipulation, which was specially used for concocting pills. The martial arts he had at hand were also at Rank 7. Although his martial arts were only in the low grades, he was still in the early condensation stage. It was enough for him to use it. He wouldn't waste any more energy points. He would wait until he encountered the other high-ranking martial arts. After all, regardless of whether it was low grade, mid grade, or top grade, the cost of duplicating them was 100,000 energy points. He naturally knew how to choose. With this, he used up another 700,000 energy points. A trace of satisfaction flashed across Lin Xuan's eyes. This time, his potential, talent, and strength would increase by quite a bit. It wouldn't be good to attract his attention with a spiritual essence stage in front of him. All of this happened in an instant, and no one noticed it at all. That's right. Master Ren Yuan could not help but praise Lin Xuan's calm and composed expression. In the Wind Cloud City, the rest of the condensation, spin stage warriors and even the spirit opening stage warriors were submissive in front of him. It was rare to see someone like Lin Xuan. This kind of attitude showed that Lin Xuan was extraordinary. "How should I address you?" Master Ren Yuan asked. "My name is Lin Xuan. I have to thank you for helping me this time." Lin Xuan responded with a smile. "This is the fault of the Apothecary Guild. You don't have to blame yourself." Master Ren Yuan said it with a smile. After that, Lin Xuan and Master Ren Yuan chatted for a while. It was as if they were communicating amongst their peers. After learning that Lin Xuan was a disciple of the Drifting Cloud sect, he praised him once again. When the surrounding warriors saw this scene, they were all very surprised. The usually cold and indifferent Earth-ranked alchemist, Master Ren Yuan, actually treated a condensation spin stage junior with such kindness. It made them feel as if they were hallucinating. After a long time, they finally confirmed that it was true. They were instantly shocked. He was able to make Master Ren Yuan treat him like this. This man's potential must be extremely high. The hearts of all the martial artists shook. They looked at Lin Xuan, their eyes filled with fear and envy. They didn't dare to provoke him anymore. They couldn't afford to offend the person Master Ren Yuan valued. After they chatted for a while, Master Ren Yuan suddenly said, "Fellow Lin, why did you come to the Apothecary Guild this time?" "I am quite interested in the Pill Dao. I am here to participate in the alchemist examination." Lin Xuan replied seriously. "Do you know anything about the Pill Dao?" Master Ren Yuan was surprised when he heard this. He had expected this because he had seen Lin Xuan at the entrance of the Apothecary Guild. However, when he heard Lin Xuan say it, he was still very surprised. Lin Xuan's talent in martial arts was extremely high. Among the countless geniuses he had seen, there were only a few who could compare to Lin Xuan. In terms of martial arts, his potential was limitless. But if he still dabbled in Pill Dao, he would have the talent of alchemy. Then he would be too formidable. Immediately, Master Ren Yuan calmed down once again. When he saw Lin Xuan's expression and attitude, it was obvious that he was more focused on martial arts. The Pill Dao was just his interest. This was understandable. After that, Master Ren Yuan took the initiative to bring up the topic of alchemy. Although Lin Xuan had just stepped into the Pill Dao not long ago, he had a certain foundation. Adding on to the fact that his alchemy talent had improved regarding Pill Dao, he had a similar understanding. His answer was simple and casual. Master Ren Yuan was even more surprised when he saw this. "Fellow Lin, I think your talent in the Dao of alchemy isn't bad either. If you can dabble in the Pill Dao, it will be of great help to your cultivation." Master Ren Yuan chuckled. He was more and more satisfied with Lin Xuan. "Master Ren Yuan, thank you for your guidance." After they chatted for a while, Master Ren Yuan said, "I'm usually here. If you want to discuss the Pill Dao with me, you can come to the guild to find me. This is my token, and here is a copy of the foundation of the Pill Dao that I used in the past. You can take it with you." He took out a gray token with a pill tripod engraved on it, as well as an old book, and handed it to Lin Xuan. Lin Xuan was startled for a moment and immediately reacted. He cupped his hands and thanked him. "Thank you for your guidance." He took these things. He didn't expect Master Ren Yuan to give him such a big gift. However, all of these were useful to him, so he naturally couldn't refuse. He could only repay Master Ren Yuan in the future. It seemed like this Apothecary Guild was pretty good. After that, Master Ren Yuan turned around and walked into the Apothecary Guild. When the crowd saw Master Ren Yuan hand the token over to Lin Xuan, they were shocked and couldn't believe it. One should know that Master Ren Yuan was an Earth-ranked alchemist, and even a spiritual essence stage warrior had to show respect to him. Many spiritual essence stage warriors might not be able to obtain Master Ren Yuan's token. Lin Xuan was merely a condensation spin stage, but Master Ren Yuan had given him the token. Could it be that, in Master Ren Yuan's eyes, this young condensation spin stage warrior was stronger than some spiritual essence stage warriors? Everyone was shocked and in disbelief. However, Lin Xuan didn't pay any attention to this. He put away the book and the token, then walked into the Apothecary Guild. When he stepped into the union, a sweet fragrance assaulted his nose. His spirit was refreshed, and then he looked back. In a spacious hall, the crowd was surging. This place was actually much larger than it seemed. This is the spatial folding technique. Lin Xuan looked around, and his heart shook. The interior space seemed to be a lot bigger than the outside. This was the space folding technique that countless people had spent decades trying to understand in his previous life. He did not expect to see it in the Apothecary Guild. It seemed like this martial arts world had many more advanced aspects. At the same time, this also showed the deep heritage of the Apothecary Guild. After all, even the Drifting Cloud sect didn't have such a technique. Lin Xuan's heart skipped a beat. He now attached more importance to the Apothecary Guild. After that, he calmed down. This was the first time he had come to the Apothecary Guild. This hall should be the outer hall. There were shelves all around, and all kinds of medicinal pills were placed there. There were also many counters at the back, and some staff members of the Apothecary Guild were recording something. This place looked similar to some of the halls in the Drifting Cloud sect. Chapter 130. Participating in the examination. There are a lot of alchemists in the hall. However, their grades were too low, and they were far inferior to Master Ren Yuan and Mo Ruin. However, Lin Xuan did not let them go either. In any case, he currently had quite a number of energy points, and alchemy talent was also relatively rare. After wandering around the hall for a while, he copied all of them. After that, he came to a relatively sparsely populated corner. He chose to use it. In an instant, a surge of warmth flowed through his entire body. Lin Xuan's aura began to change. Fortunately, the crowd in the hall was moving, and no one noticed him. At the same time, a cold prompt sounded in his ears. Alchemy talent upgrade. Congratulations on breaking through to the superior grade Crimson Fire talent. Congratulations on breaking through to the 40% artistic conception of wood. A few minutes passed. He had absorbed all of them. Lin Xuan looked at the attribute panel and nodded slightly. 2 spirit grade alchemy talents and some lower grade alchemy talents. After merging them, there are also 40% artistic conceptions of fire and 40% artistic conceptions of wood. My talent in alchemy should be at the top even in the entire Apothecary Guild. Lin Xuan murmured in his heart, and a satisfied look flashed across his eyes. After that, he put away the attribute panel and walked to the counter in front of him. Hello, I am the receptionist of the Apothecary Guild, Li Yue. May I ask if I can help you? Lin Xuan came to the counter and the receptionist greeted him politely. This made Lin Xuan think that he had returned to the technological era in his previous life. He quickly came back to his senses and nodded. I want to take the alchemist level test. Just as he finished speaking, the staff behind the counter were all stunned. They all looked at Lin Xuan. Although the Apothecary Guild was the place where the alchemist assessment was conducted, the Pill Dao path was too difficult. There were very few people who came to participate in the assessment every month. Most of them were acquaintances who had participated in the assessment many times. It was their first time seeing a young stranger like Lin Xuan. They were, naturally, very surprised. However, they immediately recovered from their shock and went to do their own thing. Please wait a moment. Li Yue reacted and said it with a bow. Immediately, she took out a piece of paper. Fill out this form first, then I can help you arrange the follow-up procedures. Also, please fill out the real information. This information form will be registered in the guild system. If you succeed in your assessment, the guild will investigate your identity. If your information isn't real, you might have some trouble. Li Yue handed the form to Lin Xuan and explained it in detail. Okay. Lin Xuan nodded slightly and quickly filled in the form with his head lowered. What he wrote was all real information. His information did not need to be kept secret, and he was not afraid that his information would be leaked. Not long after, he finished filling in the information. Lin Xuan returned the form to Li Yue. You're only 16 years old. You want to take the mortal rank advanced pill refiner test? Li Yue picked up the form and glanced at it. She couldn't help but exclaim. Her voice was not small and it immediately attracted the attention of the surrounding people. He is so young. He's only 16 years old, but he's already a condensation spin stage. He even wants to take the alchemist examination. Is he really that powerful? Is he a top-notch pill-forging genius? I reckon that even Miss Mo Ruin is inferior to him. Yes, Miss Mo Ruin started the mortal rank alchemist examination at the age of 17. The surrounding people discussed it animatedly. Their eyes gathered on Lin Xuan with some disbelief. At such a young age, not only had he reached the condensation spin stage, but he also wanted to take the alchemist examination. His talent was one of a kind, even in the entire Wind Cloud City. Everyone was naturally shocked. Lin Xuan, on the other hand, had a calm expression. He was a little happy. This way, he would be able to obtain some more energy points. On the other side, Li Yue also had a stunned expression. Immediately, she reacted. Her expression became even more respectful. She hurriedly put away the form and bowed. Please follow me. After that, Li Yue led Lin Xuan through a large door behind the counter and into the inner hall under everyone's gaze. Not long after, they arrived at an empty area. 11 people were waiting there. Their cultivation base was at the Qi transformation stage to condensation spin stage, and their ages ranged from 20 to 30 to 40. You will be taking the examination in this examination area. Please wait here for a moment. Li Yue explained. Lin Xuan nodded slightly and looked around. The other 11 people were also here to participate in the exam. Their attribute panel also contained the alchemy talent. I'll take a stroll here first. Lin Xuan spoke to Li Yue beside him before he slowly walked away and began to wander around. Li Yue was stunned when she heard this and did not react in time. This space was not large, and she did not know what was worth visiting. But if Lin Xuan wanted to stroll around, she could not stop him either. Not far away, Li walked over. She was also accompanying another person who wanted to take the test. Li Yue, why did you bring him here? Li frowned and asked in a low voice. He is here to take the alchemist examination. He is only 16 years old, and he is going to take the mortal rank advanced pill refiner examination. Li Yue replied with a smile, her words were full of admiration. What? He is also here to participate in the alchemist examination. He even wants to take the mortal rank advanced pill refiner examination. Li could not help but exclaim in a low voice. Her eyes were filled with disbelief and shock. If Lin Xuan came to take the mortal rank advanced pill refiner test, then wouldn't she have offended a respectable master alchemist? When she thought of this, Liu couldn't help but feel frightened in her heart. Compared to an alchemist, she was just a maid in the Apothecary Guild, not worth mentioning at all. What's wrong? Li Yue asked. She did not understand Lia's reaction. Liu did not answer and walked away absent-mindedly. Lia's expression was incomparably ugly. When she thought about Lin Xuan becoming a mortal rank advanced pill refiner, she might end up in a miserable state. She could only secretly pray that Lin Xuan failed the test. In the main hall, the other 11 people who were about to take part in the test were also shocked when they heard this. They couldn't help but look at Lin Xuan. If this were true, then he was a top alchemist genius. Their hearts were greatly shaken, and their eyes were filled with anticipation. They had yet to witness the bearing of a top pill refinement genius. If they were able to witness it, even if they failed the test this time, it would still be worthwhile for them to make this trip. But Lin Xuan ignored them. He seemed to have walked around casually, but he had copied all 11 alchemy talents. He returned to his original position. He chose to use these talents.